Welcome everybody to the Latin Nerds Network. My name is Jose and this is my review for How to Train Your Dragon, the live action version, of course, remaking the animated classic that came out back in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. Which I was a big fan of. I love the first How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, Toothless, he's so cute. Who doesn't love Toothless, for Christ's sake, if you guys have seen the films? And I like the subsequent movies, right? The sequels. Part 2 is really good, and 3 was okay, but overall, as a series, it worked really well. It's really good characters. It's funny. It's got a good heart in there in terms of the emotional aspects of these stories, and it really works. So I was kind of curious to see what DreamWorks would do in a live action version of this, and that's kind of the trend, right? We've seen Disney kind of set this forth where they'll take their animated classics and now remake them to live action. They've done it in so many of their films. Mixed results. I think there's been more bad than good overall. To be honest with you, it's hard to recapture that magic, particularly when you have such a beloved classic animated story. But this one here, I think they played it safe, and that's a good and kind of a bad thing. And if you're familiar with it, you can be familiar with this film because it's really, I won't quite say it's a shot-for-shot remake of the original, but it's pretty close. It is a little bit longer than the original, about 25-30 minutes longer. But yeah, it's pretty much follows the same beats, some of the same dialogue and all that. We have, of course, Hiccup, who's a main character kid, whose father, played by Gerard Butler, who voiced the original father in the animated films. They're part of this Viking village who are at odds with these dragons who are taking the food and killing their people. So they're basically at war. And, Hiccup tries to fit in, but he's just physically incapable of doing what a Viking should do, right? What they believe they should do. And, he does attempt once he does almost capture, well, I guess he does kind of capture, of course, Toothless, this kind of legendary dragon no one's seen before. And, he's unable to kill him. And eventually he feels bad, he just can't do it, and he ends up striking a relationship with Toothless, and through that he learns how to interact with dragons, and he believes he can show the village a new way to kind of, I guess, coexist with these dragons instead of just being a war, which they've always have for years unsuccessfully. So he has to convince the village, which is a tall order, particularly with his dad, who is gung-ho on taking down the dragon, finding the dragon nest and taking them all down. So this pretty much kind of follows that beat. So I'll say this, listen, this was a really well-made film. The CG is really good, particularly with the dragon, Toothless, that look really good. There's the big bad dragon in that the imposing dragon at the end of the film. If you guys have seen the animated version, looks really good as well. Some of the flying, some of the CG is a little off here and there. A lot of, you can notice the green screen, but whatever, it's to be expected with those kind of scenes. But overall, that looked good. And listen, overall, I really enjoyed what they did here. It's just a really, really good film. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I guess it's kind of the philosophy they took here, sticking to the script in terms of what the first one did. So if you're not familiar with the original, I think you're really going to get even more out of it. If there's going to be a movie, I think, really geared towards the families, and it's going to do very well. If you have families, I tell you right now, you should definitely go see this because it's well made. I mean, it lacks some of the humor the first one has, some of that charm. It's hard to recapture. I think Hiccup, he did well. The actor, it's just it wasn't the original Hiccup, right? But everything else around it was pretty much in line. Something's a little better, something's not. Toothless looks pretty much the same as it did in the animated version, of course. And like I said, overall the story worked well, and they really stuck to the script. Did a good job, recapturing this into live action form of the animated film. So, kudos to them. It's very good. It's got those moments of heart, particularly near the end. It does have some humor. You got the cute characters and all that. Everything really works here. If you're a fan of the original, as long as you're not expecting anything, for me, I'd rather see something a little bit different. He's going different, keep the same theme, some of the same stuff, but add something new. And that's the thing that my biggest complaint, they didn't do that. That being said, for someone who has not seen the first one, you're not gonna care. Obviously, I think you really enjoy it. For those, if you just don't care, you just want to see a live action or remake of the first one, you're gonna love it. It's really good. Like I said, it's really well done. And I think it's gonna please the audiences and all that. No doubt. I definitely recommend you guys go to the theaters. Film for IMAX, which is why I saw it in, so it was very enjoyable. But that said, again, it's just as long as you're not expecting anything different. If you want something different or looking for something different, this is not going to do it for you. But I still think you're going to enjoy it because it is a good story and there are good characters here, and it's well done. It really takes its time in building those relationships, particularly with the dragon. I really like what they did here in terms of that, and not trying to stray too away from what the original movie did, but a couple turns here and there I would have appreciated that in some points of the story. But overall, definitely enjoyable. Definitely highly recommend you guys go check it out when it comes to theaters. This is actually, I saw this early, so by the time I'm filming this, it's probably 3, almost 4 weeks away from the actual release of the film. So I'm very privileged to see this early. But that said, definitely check it out. When you do finally check it out, let me know if I'm crazy. You guys agree with me? You guys thought this was terrible? Or do you agree it was a really good remake? Or you guys loved it? You probably will. I think a lot of kids, particularly young kids, are going to really love this film. That said, comment below as always. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe below and feed money to go to the movies and talk about it afterwards. See you guys next time.